My name is Mark. I am going to study very soon at the University of Pennsylvania, where I'll be doing a PhD in psychology. I'm 24 and I'm originally from Jersey in the Channel Islands. I chose to study in the US for a number of reasons, but one big factor was the fact that the programs are so much more well-rounded for postgraduates than they are in the UK. So over in the UK you'll do your research and that's really about it. But in the US, not only will you do your research, but you'll be teaching undergraduates, you'll be doing taught courses, so it's a whole much more well-rounded experience than you would get over here, where really teaching is the exception rather than the norm, and in the US it's completely the reverse. I applied to University of Pennsylvania, University of Michigan and Carnegie Mellon University. I chose those universities really primarily based on the research that was being done in the department and done by certain professors and advisors there. I felt like it was really important to make sure that my interests matched with very much the research that was being generated there and the kind of publications that were coming out. So I found that the application process was quite extensive and intense, certainly compared to the kind of application process that we're used to in the UK. I found there were a lot of hoops that you needed to do, but at the same time a lot of the tasks you had were really probably things you've done before. So the personal statement is really just an essay about yourself. I think one exception to that is perhaps the GREs or the SATs or whatever tests you need to take. Those are obviously quite unique. Tips for people, I would say definitely plan well in advance. You'll often be finding you'll be doing things in parallel, so you might be getting your references while you're starting to draft your personal statement, while perhaps you're revising for your GREs. So make sure you've got a full idea of what needs to be done and you plan that in. To prepare for the GRE, I think first of all, don't underestimate the amount of time you need to put aside to do that. It is probably unlike anything you've ever done before. Something that I found that was really useful was that I was just reading the GRE textbook, which you do need to get to prepare for it in a coffee shop. Just by total coincidence, there was an American sat very close to me. She saw that I was reading this GRE book, so came over, chatted to me about the exam. It's about 10 days before. And she helpfully pointed out that actually the textbooks vary dramatically to the level with which they test you. So the book I was reading at the time was very well written, but ultimately only went to a certain level, and so she recommended that I get an extra book so that I can then perhaps start learning it to a higher level, which I did, and which was really, really valuable. So my tip would be get several books to revise from. For financing my studies, I received a fellowship from the University of Pennsylvania. This covers my tuition fees as well as a stipend for living and for books and other expenses like that. In exchange for the fellowship, I will be acting as a teaching assistant and also doing research assistantships during the summers. This came with the acceptance into the department, and that was actually one of the attractions of the department, was that they did offer to support you financially should you be accepted. For UK students looking to fund their studies, I would highly recommend they look into the websites, look into the financial details of how current students finance their studies. They usually give some statistics on how many fund it personally, how many get fellowships, how many get grants. So it's really worth looking at that. That will give you an idea of how likely it is that you'll be able to get funding. And also watch out, because obviously some of those will be US only funding, which you'll need to, probably won't be able to apply for. So one of the things I'm really looking forward to is actually just getting stuck in. Ultimately I'll be studying and working in a subject that I absolutely love, so it'll be great to be able to do that, not only through the research, but learning about it in courses, down the line teaching undergraduates. So really I'm just excited to do that, and also to meet a whole load of new people from a different culture who are probably very different to me, and I find that really exciting. So for the visa application process, I actually found it to be not as daunting as I thought it would be. You can see they've really done their best to streamline the process. I know obviously there's a lot of forms that you do need to fill in, and you do need to go for your appointment in the embassy, but it's not the sort of reams and reams of paperwork that I imagined. I also would say there's no need to get too worried about it. Unless there's something that screams out a problem from your application, then chances are you'll be fine. My long-term career goals is to go into academia and to continue working on psychology. I think that studying in the US is going to really have a massively positive impact on that, because of the well-rounded education that you get. Ultimately, I'll be prepared to do exactly what I'll be doing as an academic, so researching independently, teaching. These are the things that are supported by graduate education in the US, and so these are things that are absolutely going to put me in good stead for starting my career.